Do you like RPGs with dark British humor?
Not all stories have happy endings.
What about a gritty, realistic historical fiction that'll make you curse the very invention of lockpicks and horse manure?
What are you waiting for, soldier? Fire the trebuchet! For king and country!
For king and country, my ass. This is all good, clean, fun.
Nearly as good as having that traitor in the pillory. Nearly. Now that...
I guess horse manure isn't really like an invention, it's just a thing that happens, but still. Or maybe, maybe you're looking for a...
Damn it, Winston. Here, take it and gag on it, you bastard.
Nick grins with satisfaction.
And keep this between you and me, all right?
I understand. I'm not a kid in short pants, you know.
Maybe you're looking for a drug-filled CRPG adventure in a pseudo-Americana cyberpunk dark fantasy. And if that sounds like a lot, it is, but it's kind of fun and great. I played it. It's pretty good. Those are just some of the games that you can look forward to if you're a fan of RPGs going into 2025, a year that is looking like one to remember, because there's a lot of games that we can really get excited about right now that either have confirmed release dates or vague release dates. In this video, I'm going to break down 6 RPGs to be excited about that go in 3 different categories. That is the certain to be released, the games that already have a release date, likely to release, games that have heavily indicated they'll be launching in 2025, but without an exact month or day, and finally, just to change things up a bit, 2 games that I am almost certain you haven't heard about. We'll start with the games that are certain to be released so you can just kind of plan monetarily to not eat that month because you need money, because like they're all seem to be releasing in like February or April. First on the list is going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It'll be launching on February 4th, 2025. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a first-person RPG based on real medieval history taking place in an open world where you'll once again play as Henry, using stealth, persuasion, and your witty tongue, as well as a little bit of swordplay, to advance your cause. This game is the direct sequel to the first game, but for those intimidated by needing to play both the first one and this one before jumping in, IGN was quick to point out that through the game's extended intro and sort of a soft reset of your character progression, there's no need, though it will of course still enhance the experience if you do. It just so happens that Kingdom Come Deliverance is kind of a long and meaty game. These 2 RPGs navigate a space in the genre that's a bit underserved, historical fiction. It is a subgenre that is near and dear to my heart as I grew up loving historical fiction novels from authors like Con Iggulden and James Clavell. It also happens to just be the genre that I actually wrote a couple books in. So if you're interested in a little bit of treason, a little bit of gunpowder, and a little bit of violence, and maybe just a dash of revolution, you can find a link to those books down below. But Kingdom Come Deliverance, the first game, was a mystifyingly deep game. It's one of those games you don't really want to rush, but rather just kind of settle in for a long adventure with deep characters, beautiful graphics, and gameplay mechanics that are difficult to master, but satisfying when you complete them. Except lockpicking. Fucking lockpicking. Maybe I'm just really bad at it, but God, no. What was that? Okay, how do we do this?
Stop! Sir? What are you doing to that lock? This definitely won't come cheap. You'll learn crime doesn't pay.
Are you fucking with me? Kingdom Come Deliverance was a big open world where you would spend as much time picking herbs as really sword fighting or anything else. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 promises to be everything that the first game was, but more. Again, you will return to the 1400s in Bohemia, in a beautiful open world that is carefully crafted with attention to detail, utilizing deep direction-based combat that you'll need to work on to master. There's no button mashing here. The drawback for some, which admittedly turned out to be one for myself, is the lack of fantasy elements in this game. And I know I just said that this is an underserved area and one that I've actually written in, but it is underserved, but it also, I found that for me personally, I need my dragons, I guess, is really what it came down to. But this is of course all by design. This is a historical fiction RPG, and it does so with a startling amount of depth and emotional connection. You will get emotional playing this game. There are points in the first game that made me get teary-eyed. It is a very well-written game. You just won't be venturing off to fight any dragons, just the monstrous human beings you meet along the way. The ones that are capable of absolutely despicable things. KCD 2 drops February 4th, 2025 and will be playable on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5. Ahead of its release, if you want to get a feel for the first game, it has been extremely deeply discounted for a few weeks now. It's selling for 80% off at only $5.99 USD on Steam. You'd be hard pressed to find a better deal than this $6 RPG, so it's so much game to play. Well, except, I guess, unless you have Xbox Game Pass, because our next game will be a day one release on Xbox Game Pass. Avowed has been an interesting game. For a while, it looked like it'd be a fairly decent RPG that was actually going to be launching in 2024, often compared to Skyrim because of its first-person RPG combat. But except it actually turns out that it's not like Skyrim. It's not open world, and really, you can actually play in third person if you want as well. Over the last year or so, the third person, first person RPG that is definitely not open world looks so much more improved than the first time we saw it. It will be an RPG that contains denser, more content rich and bespoke smaller biomes than its open RPG comparisons. The focus here is on storytelling and an RPG that will respect your time as well as companions. The game is set in the same universe as the Pillar of Eternity games, the Land of Aora, though you won't have to have played any of the Pillars of Eternity CRPGs to jump into Avowed. It will stand on its own as it's been designed as an entry point for new players. It will be made by Obsidian Entertainment, a fairly legendary studio behind some of the best games over the last couple decades. The high fantasy RPG will rely heavily on companions with a driving main story investigating an ongoing corruption. You are the envoy of Adir, a distant land from where you will begin your adventure in Avowed. You've been sent to investigate the rumors of a spreading plague, but you're not really welcome. You see, the living lands are free from the influence of the imperial state of Adir, at least until now. You are, in a sense, an interloper, and this is one of the dynamics that I'm very curious to see how Obsidian handles. And it turns out you'll have a bit of say in just how much of an imperial dick you want to be. As Avowed's creative director, Carrie Patel, puts it in a quote, "The personality, appearance, and philosophy and vibe you bring to that role is up to you as a player to decide." By far the most exciting part for me, though, is the companions, which will be a core part of the RPG experience, helping you out on the battlefield. You'll be joined by 2 companions throughout your adventures, and even be able to settle down and camp with them to get to know them a little bit better. Something I'm sure many people will be excited about, as one of the companions, Kai, the Fishman, is voiced by the same actor as Garrus from Mass Effect, Brandon Keener. But to the lament of probably those same people, there is no romance in this game. No romance in Avowed, because they essentially basically thought they couldn't do it well. They didn't have enough resources. Avowed has a pre-order bonus for a few days of early access, but just meh. It's a day one release on Xbox Game Pass if you want to play it there, or you can just buy the regular version and not give in to the FOMO. The actual release date is February 18th, 2025. Game Pass itself is about $12 for a month, or if you haven't done it before, you get a 14-day trial for $1. So pretty good deal if you want to just jump into Game Pass for a little bit. No, I'm not sponsored by Game Pass. I paid them. Our next 2 games, our next 2 RPGs, both are pretty certain to be launching in 2025. In fact, they have both told us 2025. They just haven't said when. And the thing is, both of these games are some of my most anticipated RPGs for quite some time. And they also promise to be extremely different from each other. I was not ready to be this excited for a turn-based RPG based on a French setting with an all-human cast. Remember the thing about fantasy and dragons from KCD? This is still fantasy, but no fishmen in this one. And yet, here we are. This is potentially one of my most anticipated RPGs of 2025 because it has left such a huge impression on me. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an upcoming turn-based RPG with real-time mechanics coming from Sandfall Interactive and published by Kepler Interactive. And it starts with a doomsday-esque premise. The Paintress has been erasing people by their age. Year by year, she erases us. Each year, the Paintress paints a cursed number on her monolith. The people who just so happen to be that age of that painted number, well, they turn into smoke and fade away, all of them, taking out entire rungs of all of society. The mission is simple. Your expedition, Expedition 33, sets out on a seemingly doomed mission. Destroy the Paintress so she can never paint death again, as she paints the number 33. It's a turn-based party RPG with real-time mechanics set in what looks to be an absolutely gorgeous world. Just really, really pretty and very artistic. And we already know that the acting will be top tier as they've enlisted some of the biggest names in the industry, including what appears to be a bit of a reunion for several Baldur's Gate 3 cast members. Jennifer English, Shadowheart, Devora Wild, Lae'zel, Tracy Wiles, Jaheira, and they'll be joined by some well-known names like Ben Starr of Final Fantasy XVI, the legendary Andy Serkis, that is Gollum. That is Gollum. Gollum, I'm sorry. And Charlie Cox, best known as Daredevil. At least there's no stupid thing I can say about a weird name thing. All among an even larger cast, setting this up to be one of the most cinematic RPGs we get in 2025. Now, Expedition 33 does have a release window, putting it pretty squarely in 2025. The upcoming JRPG-inspired RPG with some legendary acting talent behind it will be launching in spring of 2025, so potentially not too far away. The next game, I really, really wish we'd already seen gameplay of. It's Fable. We've seen a tiny bit, but not as much as I would like at this point, with the game potentially launching in 2025. Fable 4, which is technically a soft reboot, just being titled Fable, is a tongue-in-cheek humor fantasy RPG that has for ages defined itself on choice. To be a dick or not to be a dick, essentially. Set in Albion, we don't know that much else about it. We don't have a lot of details yet. Though we've seen some hints of some big bad villains, we've seen a giant played by British comedian and actor Richard Ayoade, and we've seen some big ass toads and some pixies on the unfortunate end of them. I'm kind of a sucker for dark British humor, so when it was announced that a new Fable was going to be coming out, I was over the moon. Then I got nervous because it's not the same studio making Fable that made the first one. Then I remembered Fable 3, and I'm more than happy to give the new studio a shot. We've gotten a slow drip of information on Fable over the last few years, including some tiny snippets of gameplay, but mostly full-on cinematic trailers, which thankfully has shown one really important thing. The dark humor remains there.
You want to know all about heroes, do you? Well, you have come to the right place. Because who better to tell you all about them than perhaps the greatest hero of them all? Yeah? There he is, in all his finery. Cheers. I mean, sure, you get your mega fans,
You are literally my favorite person.
your haters,
It's like a fan club, but we hate you.
your chancers, and the occasional giant toad, for some reason.
Through some other updates, we've gotten some hints about the combat, like that'll be action combat, kind of like Witcher 3, given that the architect behind the combat is there with the team making Fable. Those tiny little bits of gameplay we've seen do look pretty dang good, but it's hard to make too much of a value judgment from that little bit we've seen. I was hopeful we'd get a meatier trailer with more gameplay. We do know that as of right now, it will still be launching in 2025 per their latest trailer. But because we know so little about it right now, though, I'd probably guess that this is going to be more towards the back half of 2025, and we'll start getting more trailers and interviews and first-hand previews over the coming months. But what about the games you have not heard about yet? The games that you probably haven't heard about anyway. I mean, I guess if you've been on this channel, you probably know about them. But games that are a bit more obscure. We'll start with one that I'm certain no one has heard about. Monster Hunter Wilds.
Now to lead it away from the pack, we'll make for the desert.
Okay, no, it's obviously not Monster Hunter Wilds, but that game is coming out in February. Holy shit, February. Also, Assassin's Creed is coming. There's a lot of games coming out in February. And Avowed moved to February to avoid a meaty release schedule in 2024. It's gonna suck. But thankfully, we do have 2 more obscure games, and they will all be launching after that month. Starting with this side-scroller RPG written by the same writer who brought us Vampire the Masquerade, which is set to launch on April 17th, 2025. Mandragora. Mandragora is a sort of Souls-like RPG in 2.5D, and when I played the demo during the Steam Next Fest, this game jumped onto my radar for its storytelling and its satisfying combat and RPG elements like your character's progression. It's one of the games on this list with the darkest tone, if not the darkest, as you journey into a world where mankind has essentially mostly given up, hiding behind palisade walls of brick, hiding in ignorance beneath the bejeweled thumbs of the avarice-laden rulers. Mandragora brings you into a world in decline, where you'll fight vicious creatures, cling to new allies, and make harsh moral choices, and even journey into the plane of entropy through the legendary Witch Lantern. It's a game with several unique classes that you can customize through their skill web. Now, unfortunately, in the demo, we only got to play as one class, but the Spellcaster class looks like a lot of fun, so I really hope that looks and actual play work out with that, because I want to play that when I play. But for me, the highlight of this game is that it's written by Brian Mitsoda, who wrote Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. So this sort of dark fantasy seems just right for them, and I'm very eager to see what kind of story unravels from the game as we delve deeper, what kind of surprises we have, what kind of darkness we uncover. Mandragora will release on April 17th, 2025 from Primal Game Studio and publisher Knight's Peak. You can pre-order it now on Steam or Epic, but it'll also be coming to PS5, Xbox, and Switch at a later date. Now, this last one that I used in the beginning to try and get you hooked to play, to actually like watch this video as long as possible, well, it's kind of a good one. New Arc Line.
A predatory glare fixes
No, stop! We have to see the director. He must.
Without warning, the creature flings the dwarf aside, his head meeting the ground with a resounding thud, silencing him. The crowd roars into the fray.
Oh, fuck!
I've talked about this game before, but it's still kind of gone under the radar. New Arc Line is a steampunk drug-fueled dark CRPG where magic and mechanics are at odds with each other. It's currently in early access, so you can play it right now at this moment on Steam, as well as Epic and GOG, but it does plan to launch late in 2025. The game plans to be on PC and consoles like many others on this list. It's a classic turn-based CRPG with its biggest twist being its setting, a dark, grimy, Americana-esque steampunk world where magic is looked down upon. It's a grim world with terrifying creatures lurking around corners, muscular dudes ready to punch you for your lunch money, dudes who are also probably on drugs, and even exploding bodies. When I first played the demo for New Arc Line, I found the writing to be a little bit subpar, but so far in the early access, I've actually really enjoyed it. I found that the writing to be much better than what the demo had showcased. Even combat has been more fun in the demo. It's not gonna come to the same level as like a BG3 with combat, but it doesn't have to be a good game. And so far, that's what it feels like, a very good game. This game may be under the radar, but it's definitely worth a look if you're looking for something gritty with a sense of humor, mostly dark humor, and want that tactical turn-based RPG feel. It's not perfect, but it's very, very solid. I want to end with one honorable mention for Exodus, the game we just got to see our first little bit of gameplay of, and it's looking a whole lot like Mass Effect in the best ways. A sci-fi RPG that we've been waiting for, companion-based and mission-based RPG from former creators of Mass Effect, where obviously they're drawing a ton of inspiration. You can actually see the gameplay reveal of it right here. My name is Edward Flynn, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful 2025.